This building holds over 100,000 people. As you can imagine, the logistical challenges of something like this are immense, from the length of the grass to making sure people can get in safely. Here is the hidden design of stadiums. Modern arenas need to be incredibly versatile, and that's the case right here at John Cain Arena. Now, we're between two events right now, and you can see some of the transitioning starting to happen. We need to make sure that the floor meets the purpose for the job. So underneath this flooring is actually a tennis court. That's covered up all year round until it's Australian Open season. This flooring can be used to host concerts and events, but we need to transition it for a netball court. Now, the way that's done is that this is essentially held in storage out back, and there are pieces which then can be installed, clicked together, so it's ready to go. Hiding in plain sight is this. This is actually the velodrome for the cyclists, and it was used during the Commonwealth Games. Now, it's pretty clever here. You can see the seats at either end of the stadium. These can actually be lifted up. So, for example, if a sporting game is being held, they're down so people can watch. But for a concert, this makes room for the stage itself, as well as having a much larger area for general admission so you can mosh to your heart's content. One of the most important features of stadium design is making sure everyone can see the action. Now, I've come right to the top and the back of the stadium, and this is sometimes called the nosebleed section. Now, that phrase comes from the idea that mountain climbers, people high at altitude, often get nosebleeds. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek phrase because in reality, you're not going to get it at this altitude. But one thing you'll notice as you look up stadium seatings is that the angle increases the further you go. So as you climb up the stairs right to the top, some of the steps actually get larger and larger. Now, the reason that's done is to make sure everyone has clear, visible sight lines of the stadium. Now, if they're looking all the way across, it's not a big deal, but they also need to see right in front of them. Now, there is a formula for this, and it's called the C value, which you need to work out to make sure everyone gets a nice, clean view. Something unusual about the design of roofs at stadiums is, unlike a normal building, you can't have beams right in the middle to hold it up. Otherwise, it would obstruct the view. So we need to make the most of something known as a cantilever. Cantilevers are slabs or beams that are fixed at one end and then overhang, and it means you can look forward without any obstruction. This particular roof design uses a geodesic dome structure, that is, triangles that create something very similar to a sphere. Now, what that does, it reduces the amount of materials needed, as well as making the building design fairly iconic. To play sport, of course, you need the pitch, and having good quality grass is really key to that. So there's a team of horticulturists making sure that this is ready to play every game day. Now, at this stadium, the grass is actually kept all year round, even if this venue is used for something else like a concert. In that case, it'll be covered up, but the grass underneath retains. There's a few things you need to do to make sure the health of this is ready all year round. Of course, watering it, but also making sure that grass, like all plants, gets enough sunlight. So what these machines behind me do is actually aid with the photosynthesis process. These are LED growth lights, and essentially they're used on parts of the stadium where you don't get all of the natural sun. So, for example, in winter, in areas where it might be more shaded, or just high use areas. Now, the grass itself, you'll notice some patterns in it. That's achieved essentially by the mower and the roller being done in different directions, creating a grain in the grass. This actually does have some use. If you're watching, you can see the distances. This might be done at 10 or 5 metres, depending on the sport itself. Doesn't matter how big the stadium is, there'll always be people that can't make it down to the game, and that makes the media's role really important. So stadiums will have something like this, a commentator's booth, which is soundproof, as well as having great view of the action, so you can record it for people at home for the radio or TV. One of the design decisions you'll make with a new stadium is the actual orientation of it itself. This will depend where in the world you are, what your latitude and longitude is, and what time you expect to play most of your games. One of the big considerations is where is the sun? What you don't want is the blinding light on the players and indeed of the media cameras. So what you'll notice on cricket grounds around the world, the general orientation is north-south. What does that mean? It means that batters and bowlers aren't facing into the low sun. So more than just being a single stadium and arena are things like event precincts. That's absolutely the case here at Melbourne Park. Now, it's best known, of course, for hosting the Australian Open across a range of different tennis courts and facilities.
My name's Amelia Treneman. I'm the Operations Manager of Major Events at Melbourne Park. I spend a lot of time organising, coordinating events, make sure that everything behind the scenes is set up so that anyone coming into or out of the event experiences it to their full potential. Logistically, moving a lot of people into one place or out of one place is complicated. At Melbourne Park, we're very lucky in that we're very close to public transport. Everything is relatively walkable from the city, so it makes that bit easy. The hard bit is that there are so many things going on in this area that the clash of different events or things happening means that you have to think about every different traffic flow, where people are going, where they're coming from, what they're going to see.
When you've got a big event, you've got thousands of people all trying to find their exact seat. And that's where wayfinding design is really important. So wayfinding are all of the signs which are pointing people in the right direction. Now there is some strategy to this. Essentially what you want to do is go from high level to small level in that order. So for example, on your ticket, you might say which precinct to go to or which particular stadium or arena. Now from there might be information about which gate to go inside, which door to enter into the building. And from there you might have different sections and then different rows and finally the seat number itself. When it comes to sign design, the best practice is not to use words where possible. That's why you'll often see symbols like this, things describing where food is or the toilets or the emergency medical centre. Now the reason for that is people may not have strong literacy, or also venues like this will host people from around the world, so writing in any one language isn't the best practice. Here's a space you might not expect to see at a major stadium or event. This is a sensory room, and the lighting is all part of providing a kind of safe and welcoming space for people with sensory needs. If you kind of get overwhelmed, to take just a pause and a moment. So where I am right now in Margaret Court Arena, this is an overflow from a concert for a VIP meet and greet. There are some benefits for this. It means rather than being a singular event, it can be a whole hub of activity.
If Rod Laver, John Cain, Centrepiece and the Oval are all active at the same time, it's complicated to make it happen. I think you'd be surprised by how much needs to be set before a client comes in. So we usually need to set up the rigging or build the stage, make sure that the loading dock is clear so the trucks can come in, because concerts will bring in 15 trucks worth of gear. And so the busiest part of the precinct is always the loading dock. We usually have things booked in a year in advance so that we at least know the event's coming or it's penciled. Sometimes we turn around things in 3 weeks, but it depends on licensing and to know what's available, what's possible, and make sure that everybody who's coming to each event is getting the best possible customer experience. It's really cool to then see it all come together.
So next time you find yourself at a big event like this, have a look around and just think of some of the clever design.